Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to University of Massachusetts. My name is Barbara Fote, and I am a member here, and I am here to welcome you with the stoles that we have on. They're all puzzle pieces. We're all a little bit of a puzzle, sometimes to each other, but we all fit together in the family of God. Whatever color, shape, size, sexual orientation, gender, economic status, whatever you are, please know that you are welcome here. We have a brochure for newcomers, and this is the time of year when we often welcome new students. So if there is a young person near you that doesn't quite look familiar, please welcome them. And if you are also new and not a student, you are welcome, and we'll try to get around to you to give you this brochure that tells you about the mission and the ministries here at this congregation. Inside your bulletin, if you'll open it up, did you find a yellow slip? If you'll pull that out, we would love to know who you are and that you're here, whether you're a first timer or a 1,000th timer. So if you could fill that out. And then on the flip side of that, you have the opportunity to write a prayer request. And those will be read a little bit later in the service. So if you did write a prayer, the ushers will collect that yellow slip. And if you didn't write a prayer, but just put your contact information, then just drop that in the offering plate, and the ushers will see that we get that on the welcome team. Our worship service, there's an abbreviated worship service in the bulletin paper that you got. Most everything will be up on the screen. And if you are techie and have your smartphone and know how to scan QR codes, there's one in the bulletin and you can get the full text of the worship service. There are restrooms to this door. The gathering room, where we'll meet after worship, is out either door behind me. Children are always welcome in our service. We do not have childcare today, but children are welcome, and there's rocking chairs in the back, and there's a coloring table that somebody's already found up here for children. A couple of opportunities for discipleship. Before I get to that, I hear there's something going on out by Onondaga Lake with a bunch of people went out there or something. What's going on out there? They got big things up in the sky that twirl around and all kinds of healthy, delicious food, I hear. What is that? The fair. All right, so our announcements today are F-A-I-R in honor of the fair. F for Fast Track Bible Study is starting. We had a great time last year going through the Bible in a year, and now we're going to do Genesis and Exodus. We'll be meeting Sunday night, so that's on the back side of your bulletin. F for the Fast Track Bible Study. A for the Acts book study, which is tomorrow night. How many of you have read Michelle Obama's book, Becoming? Well, Nelson and I have, all right, 3 of us. If you have read it and want to do a discussion in the Race Matters book club, that is tomorrow night. I is for ice cream. We'll be having an ice cream social at our house for college students, connecting them up to each other, the connections group, so see me if you're interested in that. And R of fair is for the Rule of Benedict study that starts. I love Joan Chittister, and I'm sorry that I'm teaching Mondays at that time and can't attend, but it's something we probably want to think about. And God bless whoever's in trouble there that emergency vehicle is going to. So those are just a few of the things, but please do take your bulletin home and take a look at what other things are going on in this mission and ministry. Our pastor, Alicia Wood, is on vacation today, and our beloved member and former lay leader, Beth Drew, a true woman of faith, is here to lead us. But before we hear Beth, I think Carol Bowl is going to lead us in a hymn sing.
Good morning. So this is our last Sunday before the special Sunday that we'll be doing all hymns. So if you find this in your bulletin and you haven't filled out a request for a hymn, be sure to do that if you want to sing one next Sunday during the service. But for now, this will be our last one for the summer. So I'm taking requests from anybody. I don't care whether we've done the songs before. We've done a lot of our favorites, and I'm happy to do it again. So if you have one you want to do, just raise your hand. 377. How about another one? I'm sorry? 378. Okay. Start. 206.
206. 206. 206.
And if I didn't get to yours, I'm sorry, but please be sure to put it on a slip and put it in the offering plate, and you can work with it next week. Good morning. Welcome to worship at University United Methodist Church. It's a pleasure for me to be here. It's been a while since I stood in front here, and I'm delighted to be back. Barbara, I think your words of being a woman of faith may in fact be a little disputed during my sermon, but we'll see what happens. And I beg to all of you that you will allow me to share with my honesty and some of my questions this morning. But I do welcome you, and I want you to notice these doors. This summer, we have been using doors to consider ourselves or to consider others being locked out, being on the outside. But don't we sometimes use closed doors to avoid going outside, to close ourselves on the inside? And sometimes we cling to that insider status to close ourselves off from what really is happening in the world. But our God is a God of movement, moving beyond homeland, moving beyond enslavement, moving beyond exile, moving beyond the church. And always moving towards the needs, moving towards the pain, moving toward those who need to feel God's love. God's movement is manifest through God's people, and we are called to follow. Please stand in body or spirit if you would and can, and join me in the call to worship.
turn one mic off before I turn another one on. We are here. We come to this place together.
Challenge one another to bear the costs and know the joys of love.
To celebrate its presence, to live with respect in creation, to become love. In the service of others, in the pursuit of justice and the resistance of evil.
To recognize our humanity, celebrate it at our table. To see love and loss in one another's eyes.
And by them, to be both convicted and freed.
May love bind us to one another, so we might better serve the world.
As one, we proclaim, we are not alone, for we journey together in the spirit of love. Take a look around. You are surrounded by the beautiful diversity of the people of God. This is God's family. And before you settle back into your seats, and as you're looking around, take some time to connect with your neighbors and share with them the boundless love of God and the reassuring peace of Jesus Christ. And your cue will be the music. When you hear the music, it will be time for adults to return to seats and for children to come on up and join me by the baptismal font. So please greet each other in the name of God.
Greetings. Starting tomorrow. This week should be fine. Only on Friday do I have to do any actual time. This is my syllabus week. I already know that. The class period is only 15 minutes long. I'm not going to attempt to teach. I'm going to do this. No, I will force them to do icebreakers. It'll help me remember the names in less than a month. Yes, right. Sometimes it takes me longer than a month. If even on a one-by-one basis.
Okay, where'd she go? There she is.
I can't see it.
There she is. She's up at the children's table.
All right.
Well, hi, everybody. How are you doing? I know you're not always used to seeing me up here, but I think you've seen me around and you at least know who I am. I'm Beth. And I want to ask you a question. Have you ever had a room full of mess? Whatever that mess might be. What might get messy in your room or in your space? Clothes. You don't have anything? Ever a toy or some socks or anything like that just kind of hanging around, sitting around? Toys sometimes. What might be messy in your world?
My clothes.
Clothes. Anything messy in your world? How about homework? School's starting in another week. How about homework? You ever feel like just kind of saying blech to homework? Or blech to doing up the dishes? Or blech to being nice to somebody? You ever feel that way? Well, I'm going to tell us a little thing today that I want you to maybe kind of tuck away in your head and think about. And that's just these words. Not today, body. Not today. Today is not the day. So, when I go home, I see my coffee cup sitting on the counter, or I see my shoes lying around, or I know I have to write somebody a letter, and I'm going, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't pick up this stuff up. I'm going to just say to myself, not today. Today I can do it. Today I can do it. Try that with me. Say, give it a good shout. Not today, body. Not today. Today is not the day. Try it. Today is not the day. Somebody says, got to pick those things up. That's not when you're going to say not today. You're going to be like, okay, I don't think I can do this. But then you say, wait a minute, not today. Today I can. Now, does this mean that every single time in your life, forever and ever and ever and ever from now on out, you're... Hey there. Hey there. Yeah. Does this mean that you're always going to just be able to say, wait, I have something I don't want to do, and I'm going to say, not today? Does that mean that, do you think? What do you think? Are you always going to be able to just be so perfect that you say, oh, I'll do my homework. Oh, I'll pick up my clothes. Is that really going to happen, do you think? No, it's not. But all you have to think about is this time. Somebody wants to sit next to you at school, and you're going, yuck, I don't like this person. I'm going to tell this person not to sit there. And what do you say?
Not today.
Not today, body. I'm not kicking this person out today. Does this mean you're going to be best friends forever? No. But it means not today. Today, I'm not going to hurt. Today, I'm going to be the best person I can be. Think you can try that? Give me a good scream one more time. Not today, body. Try it. And when you're feeling that slipperiness, just kind of think, not today. Nope, not today. So let's say a little prayer, okay? Let's do a prayer. God, we know how to be the way you want us to be, but sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes we want to give it up. And we're just going to try to remember, God, that one little step at a time, we can say we can do it. Amen. Thanks for coming with me. Okay? The courage for all of us to act in any way comes from a deep assurance of God's love. If we will only listen, God is calling us into creative action. I invite you to please stand in body or spirit and join with me in singing our opening hymn, The Summons. Please stand. question. And despite danger and opposition facing them on every side, the psalmists always show complete trust in God's saving grace. So please listen now to the words of the 46th Psalm. God is our refuge and strength, a help always near in times of great trouble. That's why we won't be afraid when the worlds fall apart, when the mountains crumble into the center of the sea, when its waters roar and rage, when the mountains shake because of the surging waves. There is a river whose streams gladden God's city, the holiest dwelling of the Most High. God is in that city. It will never crumble. God will help it when morning dawns. Nations roar, kingdoms crumble. God utters God's voice. The earth melts. The Lord of heavenly forces is with us. The God of Jacob is our place of safety. Come see the Lord's deeds. What devastation God has exalted among nations. I am exalted throughout the world. The Lord of heavenly forces is with us. The God of Jacob is our place of safety. This is the word of God for the people of God. We'll see how I do with these slides here. That's what I printed that one. Okay. Would you pray with me, please? God, many words are said in any worship service, in any day of living. Please let the words I say, the words you hear, come together in ideas that are acceptable in your sight. Amen. Now, many of you, not all, but many of you know that I spent my professional career as a teacher. And if anybody has ever had anything in their life that has to do with teaching, you know that when the beginning of August rolls around, you begin to start thinking. So, as I knew I was coming and working on this, guess what? The end of July with the primary debates and the primary conversations. It was before the immigrant arrests in Mississippi. It was before the volatility of the stock market. It was before all of these things. And so I really, really want you to know that those events are not what precipitated my thinking, the thinking I'm going to share with you now. Those events were not, this is not a reaction to that, is what I need you to know before I move on. My thoughts were melding long before that. So thank you. Thank you. This is where I said Barbara's words may not be completely true. I'm kind of putting myself out here for you today. So for the last few months, and maybe even a little, I have been deeply troubled to the point that it has had an impact even on my daily comings and goings. I've been a little discouraged, I've been a little overwhelmed, and it hasn't just been one thing. It's been many things, church and state. It's present with me with what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, people behaving to each other, and it's scary. It's very scary. Says Debbie Downer standing before you this morning. It's very scary. In fact, there have been times it's felt almost a little paralyzing. And the truth is, checking out those doors, it would be so simple to give it all up. I could. I have a nice home. I have a nice little circle of people in my world. I could give it all up. I could go in the hole. I could live in the safety of my home. I could close off a lot of the world. I could forget about being a person who tries to make a difference in what I do. I could forget about worrying about injustice or unfairness. I could forget about putting myself anywhere where I could get that vulnerability feeling, and I could go behind these doors or any doors and lock myself in. And I could do it. We all could do it. Am I going to do that? Probably not. But this is what I've been feeling, and I wanted to share that. Now, since this is church, and this is Sunday morning, you may be thinking that this is the time when I'm going to say, it's all okay. We'll talk to God, we'll give it to God, God is ever powerful, and God's mercy will prevail, and there's nothing that God can't do. God has this. And you know, I would love to say that. I would love to stand before you and say that, but I'm going to go even one more step on the honesty path here. And I'm going to say that, in fact, has even been part of my problem. Because in recent months, I've thought a lot about God and faith and trust. And I feel as if I'm having a lot of questions along with some of my certainties. And in fact, I have joked to more than a few people, I feel like I'm going through things in my 60s that I should have been doing in my 20s. That most normal people kind of go through this soul searching in their 20s, and here I am in my 60s going through it. I'll tell you what I do believe in. I do believe in a loving and present God. And I do believe that God is with us in good times and bad. And I do believe that God doesn't just swoop in and fix a problem, but that God provides us what we need to get out there and do it. And I will never stand here and say that I think that God just sits by and designs challenges to test us. I just don't do that. But what I am going to say to you is that right now, this stretch of time, I don't quite get it. I'm not quite getting it. Some of the pieces aren't quite fitting. I feel as if I know the teachings, and I know the words, and I've had experiences to support those words. But I'm just not quite getting it. In our scripture today, the words of the psalmist really make it very, very clear. And so I guess if I were a true scripturalist, I wouldn't have any questions. But I do. I do. In fact, the words of this psalm moved Martin Luther so much that they inspired him to write the beloved hymn that we will be singing later this morning as our final hymn, A Mighty Fortress is Our God. Martin Luther heard that psalm and went, yes, and penned one of the greatest hymns of all time. But I still have. I can learn from verses 1 through 7 as they discuss exactly what I am asking. They tell us that God is our refuge and our strength. They tell us that God is a very present help in trouble, and that therefore we will not fear, though the earth should shake and the earth should change and the mountains will tremble and the waters will roar. Okay, I kind of get this, that God is our refuge and strength. But it isn't saying that things won't happen, but when they do happen, God is our strength. Good. I get it. That makes sense. The verses 8 through 10 tell us all the things that God does. God can make war cease. God can break bows and spears, and presumably God can lead people to righteousness and goodness. And we are told that God is exalted among the nations and is exalted on earth. These are beautiful words, and they're strong words and comforting words. And it is certainly not up to me to dispute them. But I can't help wondering, and this is where my wondering has been, what it all looks like now in 2019 as God lives among us. And that, I think, is what's causing me the tension. What does it look like now? What I am going to hold on to is the beginning, the beautiful words that we all know so well from the beginning of verse 10 that says, "Be still and know that I am God." Be still and know that I am God. As I said earlier, there have been times when I have felt that I could pretty easily pull right on in and retreat into my home and myself behind my door and make a little cocoon. But as I plow through it, as I have been doing for many months, and as I specifically have been doing, working on this, I don't think I need to. I don't think I need to pull in. And I'm going to share with you now a couple of little mantras and a little exercise using verse 10 that have helped me and maybe can help us as we strive to be caring, loving people who live our lives following the lessons of God. Now, I'm going to step aside for a second, and I'm going to tell you I'm breaking the very first rule of speaking. I'm breaking every rule that should ever happen because I'm going to be a grandma, and I'm going to put my grandma picture up on the screen. I know, you're not supposed to talk about your own grandson, but it actually works here. This is my grandson, Aaron. He's a little bit older now than he was in that picture, but actually the story I'm going to tell you goes along with that picture. That was at Thanksgiving a couple of years ago. But one night, Aaron walked into his mother, and he said, he marched in, he was about 4, as he was in this picture, and he said, "Mommy, my body's telling me that I'd like some candy." And he said, "My body's telling me I think he even said I need some candy." And Katie, my daughter, said to him, "You know, Aaron, you've already had some sweets today. No candy tonight." And he turned away, started to walk away, and she hears him say, "Not today, Body." And he didn't get his, not today. So that's become a little mantra in my life, that when I'm starting to feel the slippery slope, I say, "Not today, Body," just like Aaron did back then related to his candy. The next picture I'm going to show is Audre Lorde. Who knows who Audre Lorde is? You know Audre Lorde? How would you describe her, Lily? Yep. Audre Lorde, thank you. Thanks very much. Audre Lorde was a poet. She was the former New York State Poet Laureate. She was an activist and a profound and inspirational voice for LGBTQIA, civil rights, feminism, and as she herself called herself, a warrior. And so the next thing I'm going to tell you is about Audre. Audre Lorde was a powerful force. She was a warrior. She fought all kinds of things. And her biggest fight, as many of us have had to look at, was facing her own death. And she wrote a poem entitled, "Today is Not the Day." And I have only pulled excerpts from that poem, but if you are interested, it's Audrelorde, and her poem, "Today is Not the Day," is available in a number of her books. Her poem goes, that I wrote, or that I excerpted, "Today is not the day. It could be, but it is not. Today, or whatever, I have taken these two sources and I think about do. I will write, I will pray, I will show up, I will question, I will listen, I will work side by side, and I will challenge. I don't have to be responsible for the next 10 or 5 or 2 years or even next week. But I can do it today and not give up. Today is not the day I give up. Not today, body. Now, as I move myself to saying I can do it, I won't give up, I also have to keep in mind nourishment and nurturing. And this is where the be still and know that I am God comes in. Many interpretations of this verse take it to mean be still in the presence of God and hear God's voice. And if you Google it and look at images, you will see many glorious natural views with streams and waterfalls and mountains and trees. And you know what? If that works, great, go for it. But I want to share with you that the Hebrew translation is a little bit different. Rather than that concept of being in solitude and stillness, the Hebrew is the word rapha, and that means to slacken, to let down, and to stop the frantic action. Be still and to know God. A few years ago, I saw an exercise meditation using that Bible verse, be still and know that I am God, and I'd like to share that with you now. I do this. I've done it in doctor's offices, I've done it in airports, I've done it in different places, I've done it lying in my bed, just relaxing. And what you do is you start out with the phrase, be still and know that I am God. You can say it once, you can say it 15 times, you can say it over and over again, or just kind of hit on it. And it really is amazing how words emerge during this as you do it on different days. So, you're in a comfortable position and you're saying, be still and know that I am God. Now, as you can tell from the graphic there, what it is we're going to gradually be knocking words away. So, you repeat, be still and know that I am God, and then you move to be still and know that I am. And then you cut some more words off and you say, be still and know. And then you cut it down further and you say, be still. And then finally, you cut it down and you say, be. And this is then how it goes. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be. I offer it to you. I personally have found it to be very supportive of how I'm feeling. I think just the nature of it relaxes. And I also think if you have had the experience, they have the same experience that I've had, you will find that on different days, your brain goes to different lines and it works through. So I offer that to you today. Before we move on with our worship service, I would like to share a poem with you. Now, some of you may already know it. It's by Wendell Berry, who is a farmer and a poet, and who publicly and privately treasures our earth, and who is an activist for our earth and is very concerned about our earth. And he shares in this poem a way that he finds of being when he's feeling kind of worn down. This is called The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of the wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Not today, body. Today is not the day. Today, living with faith, I will be. Amen. And we now move, right from shifting from one to another. I invite you to be a singer or a signer or a listener as we begin our prayer time singing the refrain of God Help the Outcasts from the movie Hunchback of Notre Dame. If you would like your prayer request read as part of our worship service today, you can simply pass those prayer slips to the ushers as they come down the aisle. So prayer slips to the ushers, ushers to me, while we all are singing or signing or even listening and being. We can sing this one more time because we're still playing. It's a big thing. It's a big thing, and really, what more prayer can we have? Hooray. But we do have a lot of prayers, a lot on people's minds, and I'm going to tell you right now, because some of the sermon was also involved in a prayer, we're going to do this part a little bit differently. We are going to read the prayer requests, and we're going to offer them to God. We're going to have a silent moment, and then we're going to go directly into the Lord's Prayer this morning, because kind of blended the two together a little bit. So, okay, you want to start us? These are our prayer requests.
A prayer for the earth and for diligence and wisdom for firefighters working to stop the Amazon rainforest fires.
Prayers for Elia Green and Mary and Karis Alcott seniors. And thank you for all the prayers. And Eric, I meant to say something about it and I forgot. I apologize. Thank you for all the prayers for Erica. Her surgery went very well and she's with us in church this morning.
A prayer for those being targeted by our government to deprive them of their rights, LGBTQ, transgender, and clients of Planned Parenthood.
Prayers for Maria Sordo and Marie and Bob and Barb Weaver from Erica.
Peter has a prayer. Thanks to God for being our security, our help in trouble, not weapons, walls or wars, but God is with us.
And this is a prayer, prayer for Nicola, for his citizenship. Pray for the people who hurt people people who hurt people because of the color of their skin.
A prayer, please, family, pray for my daughter to be able to get health care, to get her home. I'm working hard for her to get this 2-bedroom for 300.
Okay, so prayers for a 2-bedroom apartment that one would become affordably available. Okay. Okay, for your granddaughter and daughter, thank you.
And also a prayer that God bless and watch over our pastor.
Prophet Jesus, open my heart to receive abundance and focus on positive action.
A prayer for the people that are walking around with a lot of pain.
This prayer from Sherry, a prayer for Jeannie on the passing of her Aunt Sarah. Prayers also for Kathy Dewey, Patty Fasulo, Annetta Reed, and Grace Antonio.
Bruce has a prayer of gratitude for the Serenity Prayer.
This prayer from Shirley Miller, please pray for the son of a friend of mine, Joey Ponto, who has gone through several brain surgeries in the past year and a half. Please pray for his recovery and for strength for his family.
Mike Rhoda has a prayer for John Kirchner, who recently had a leg amputated below the knee.
Prayers from Barbara and Dell for Mary Jordan.
Congratulations to Barbara and Jerry Cargo on celebrating their 63rd wedding anniversary today.
Happy anniversary. This prayer is from Jackie Sadowski for Lou Roberts, Lee Potter, and our children.
Prayers for my cousin who is undergoing cancer treatment.
Pray to only listen for God's guiding voice. And this is from Gertrude. And at 72, I wish I always will. And
Alphacina has a prayer. Today I am so happy to be here with people of God. Amen.
And this prayer is from Ann Owens for Mary, Ann's sister who had emergency surgery on Friday. Thank you. And again, Nick, congratulations. It certainly is nice to share in the joys as well. As I said, as we pray, we will have a time of silence, and then immediately the Lord's Prayer. You can speak the Lord's Prayer in whatever language or form it feels right to you. So I invite you to enter into a spirit of prayer at this moment. Be still and know that I am God. Be. Let us pray together our Lord's Prayer. Creator God, who art in heaven, blessed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. We come together from across Onondaga County, representing different cultures, different generations, languages, abilities, identities. Within our diversity, we are united as a community of strangers, mutually committed to Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision of the beloved community. Our offering is one way to affirm our membership pledge to uphold this church through our prayers, our presence, our gifts, and our service. And you can also, if you did not slip one in here, slip your yellow attendance slip into the offering plate as the ushers collect the morning offering, and Dennis plays Be Still My Soul. love is truly without end. Open your heart and take it in. You are not alone. Please remain standing and join me in our prayer of dedication based on the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want.
We believe in the goodness of God. We believe God hears and responds to our needs. We believe God responds to all children everywhere.
God makes me lie down in green pastures. God leads me beside still waters. God restores my soul.
We are grateful that we've been blessed with enough water. But we know that many do not have enough. Not enough water, not enough food, not enough peace.
God leads me in paths of righteousness for God's own name's sake.
Too many children do not see God's righteousness. Too many children watch violence, taste hunger, feel fear. Too many children cry from the unspeakable horror of war.
Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me.
To become involved is risky. Pain is often contagious. Our hearts may be broken, and our lives may be threatened. Yet we hear God calling, we can no longer hide.
You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows.
Our steps may be small and timid. We may read a book, write a letter, make a gift. Each tiny step is blessed by God and multiplies.
Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
God is more relentless than war. God is more pervasive than hatred. God is more insistent than despair. Amen.
Please remain standing and think about Martin Luther, who was being inspired by Psalm 46, and join me in singing "A Mighty Fortress is Our God." I'm going to step out from behind the doors and do my best to not go back in there too much in despair. And I will use some of the words from composer John Rutter as I say, deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the blowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the gentle night to you. Today and every day, in peace or in turmoil, be still and know. And in times when you just feel that it's all too much, just remember, not today, body. Today is not the day. Amen.
Amen.